Hey everyone, happy Friday. I'm so glad to have everybody here today. I already see a whole bunch of you coming in and joining us for tea and tutorials today. I'm Joanne Banco, if you don't know that already, and this is the Let's Go Sew with Joanne Banco live show, the tea and tutorials show where we explore some beautiful sewing, embroidery, crafting, quilting, whatever, all that good stuff that we love to do. We explore some special techniques. So today we are talking about the magic of machine. Let me say it the right way. Machine made Madeira Applique. So I wonder how many of you here are even familiar with that term. It is kind of in the heirloom category of sewing, but once you see the samples and you learn the technique, you are going to be amazed, and you are going to absolutely find ways to incorporate this technique into your projects. So I've got a great guest with me today, my friend, my dear friend from sunny Florida, Janice Ferguson. Many of you know her, many of you love her like I love her, and I'm really excited to have her on today. So we'll bring her here in just a minute, but let me take a look and see who's here today. Give us a shout and say hello to me, and hello to Janice, and hello to each other in the chat, and let me know where you're from and how things are going for you today. I'm seeing some lots and lots of regulars. I see Ramona's here, Kelly, Celeste, Jeanette, Rebecca, Professora. I love saying that. One of these days you'll have to give me a name or a nickname to go by, but that's a good nickname for sure. Betty's here, Birdie's here. Hey, Birdie. Jeanette, Star Raymond, you and many others are always a regular, and it's always wonderful to have you here. Clovis, you are just a true friend. Glad to have you here too today. Cheryl, Sheila, Marilyn, Jackie, Kim, Barbara, June. Hey, June, my local friend June, who also known as June Bug, lovingly known as June Bug. Janice is here. Connie's here. Trisha's here. Teresa, Barbara, Marie, Ernestine, Rosalind, and Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Good to have you here too. Darlene. Hey, Darlene. So glad to have you here. Charlotte, Emily. I know if you're watching this on the replay, you're going, oh, how long is she going to say hello for? But you know what? I can't help but greet all my friends. It's one of the most special parts of the whole show is to, open up that comment box and see all of you here saying hello. It's just, it's a real joy. I see Emily and Judy and Shirley, Crafting with Marilyn. Hey, Marilyn. Kim, Georgia. Love the way you spell your name, Georgia. W Lowers, if I'm saying that right. Betty, Lucinda. Hey, Lucinda. Yeah, so glad to have you here from Virginia. Nancy's here from Kansas City. Maria is here from the Pocono Mountains. I bet you get some beautiful scenery this time of year. And Janice is here. And Mary? Hey, Mary, Darlene. Oh, wow. Jolita. Wonderful. Chris is here. Marcy's here. All right. I got to get my guest in here. So let me bring up just a little screen here so you can see who I'm talking about. Janice Ferguson has been on the show before. I believe it was in May when we did a full show on just a whole bunch of different things, and you saw lots of great heirloom samples and heirloom techniques. But I just had to bring her back so she could share her expertise with Magic Madeira by Machine. And I love to see a yes, that's me in the chat. If you are one of those that loves to do as much as you possibly can by machine, if possible. I know we still have hand stitchers, hand embroiderers, hand quilters, and I don't mind handwork myself either. But boy, I have a saying: if a machine can do it, let it. So I love to try to make my machine serve its purpose and get the most of it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Janice on. Hey, Janice, everybody say hi to Janice.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for
Well,
being here.
we are just absolutely thrilled to have you here. Absolutely thrilled. I don't get to see you very often. There was a time in our lives when our paths crossed a little bit more, and things aren't like that anymore. So thank goodness for the internet and online. I know many of us that are here, feel the same way, that one of the great things that's happened in the last couple of years, despite all the things that weren't so great, is the fact that we are now very highly connected. And it just takes a couple clicks to get you with friends online. So isn't that a great thing?
It's a wonderful thing. It
Yeah.
really is. I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, we got lots of friends saying hi to you. So let me bring a few of them up. Birdie's saying hi. Janice, Lita, Jeanette wants to know how Kim Sessions is doing today. Hey, Kim, you're going to have to let Jeanette know how you're doing today. And Vicky says handwork is for road trips and power outages. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Kelly.
football games. I like to
Yeah.
do that on timeouts and halftime.
Yep. You're absolutely right. When you're stuck, when you're kind of like, in a spot where you can't go anywhere. And Kelly says she's glad to know how to do handwork's great for, yeah, absolutely. But she likes doing machine work too. Well, we love, my slogan, if you want to call it a slogan, or my motto or my mission, from everything I do, is literally to help you make the most of your machine. I know for me personally, I want to get
Yes.
every bit out of that machine that I've got, invested in. And will I ever actually do everything it's capable of doing? Boy, I don't know. That's a tough one to, to live up to. But I sure want to do whatever I can to make the most of it and share that with everybody else too, so that you can make the most of yours. Let's see. June says she prefers machine sewing. Too many needle pokes while hand sewing. Yeah, well, June, I got poked a few times just the other
Yes.
day. I did the unthinkable and did the nasty rotary cutter slice. So tip of the day is always make sure you're cutting away from you with the rotary cutter, and always make sure that you close it up when you set it down on the table if you don't have one that has that little extra protection on it. Yeah. Oh, let's see. We got Carolyn's here from South Dakota. I love South Dakota. I had the chance to visit there once, and it was absolutely amazing. I got to visit North Dakota and South Dakota, and they were both just awesome, awesome places to visit. So if I've been to your state, I'll give you a shout out too if you tell me where you're from. Never been to Delaware, Deb. Closest I got was Connecticut. All right, let's see. Anybody else got a comment about? We got to bring up Lydia. Lydia, let's see. Let me grab that comment. Hey, Lydia, so good to have you with us today. Lydia is may very well be our one person here from the longest distance. You'd get the longest distance prize if you're from anywhere else further. Sometimes we have Australia, and sometimes we have Great Britain, and I love to know where you're from, whether you're near or far. But Lydia and I just had the chance to meet each other personally, face to face, at the recent Houston Quilt Festival, in International Quilt Festival in Houston. I was there in the All Brands booth helping out, and Lydia and I got to meet and talk and spend some time together. So great to have you here with us. All righty, let's see if we got anybody else that. Oh, let's see what happened to Judy. Judy injured her dining room. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I can tell you a story about the dining room table. I injured mine by ironing through a press pad that I thought was totally water resistant. Well, no, but the table got refinished, so all is good now. And Linda actually are you from Connecticut, Linda? So if you are, I've been there. And let's see. Oh, crafting with Marilyn. Marilyn's doing some handwork right now. Good for you. Yeah, it's a good time to, when you're watching the sewing shows to catch up on things like that, right, Janice?
Absolutely.
So how about you, Janice? Do you like to do handwork, or do you feel like if a machine can do it, let it most of the time?
Oh, I do enjoy handwork. I especially enjoy smocking.
Okay.
English smocking. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, that's, so many of those things are, I don't want to say lost arts because they're not lost, but they certainly aren't done by as many people as they used to be. And, for me personally, I mean, I was one of those, teenagers that sat in my bedroom on the floor and decorated my t-shirts with hand embroidery. I can remember,
Oh, did you really?
embroidery
Oh,
floss. I had a pair of jeans that I like decorated all the waistband. I had a t-shirt that had seams, and I just went over the seams like with a
oh
cross
my.
stitch. And I loved doing that type of thing. But when the embroidery machines came out, and actually for me, I got an embroidery machine with decorative stitches, you know, at a time when I had nothing like that. I always sewed on industrial machines. I was brought up, from fashion school, and from my early jobs that I had were working on industrial machines. So in an industrial setting, everything's just doing one thing, and it's, pretty plain. I mean, you could make great things, but you're working with basic stitches. And when I got my first embroidery machine with decorative stitches, I just like, I
Oh,
went crazy,
hallelujah. Yes.
crazy, because
Oh,
now I could get so much more done. Let's see what Star Raymond has to say. She used to do that too. Hand embroidery on her jeans. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. The only bad part was one time I decided to add fringe to the bottom of my bell bottoms, and then I went for a bike ride. And what do you think happened? My fringe got stuck in the
yes.
chain.
Oh,
I practically had to take my pant leg off to get myself out of that predicament. It was crazy. Oh my. Yeah, and Janice, her mom used to smock in the evenings and then make it into a dress on the weekend. How cool
oh,
is that? That is amazing. And Judy says she sorts her machine embroidery files while watching. That's good. That's good. Anytime, we're good multitaskers, aren't we? We
yes.
are really just I don't know. We're kind of, I think, sewing enthusiasts and crafty types, we're kind of born for that we have that gift of doing the multitasking. And Deb is letting the embroidery machine run while she watches the show. Very, very good. Well, I really appreciate everybody being here today. I'm going to ask you early if you enjoy this to please hit the like. Every thumbs up is a boost when you're on YouTube. It helps other people see the video, and that's a good thing. If you're not subscribed already, I would ask you if you would like to hit the subscribe button. And then if you hit the bell for notifications, that way you'll know every time we go live or I upload a video to the channel. And I welcome everybody who's watching either here on YouTube or on Facebook as well. Either way, it's good. So thank you. If you're watching on live, it's just it's a joy to have you here live. I appreciate the fact that you take time out of your day and come here and spend it with me and with Janice and whoever else is on here. I really appreciate that. But maybe you're watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, you're in for a wonderful show. You're going to learn a lot today. So why don't we go ahead and start showing off some samples, Janice? What do you think?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring up this. And actually, let me do this so we can see us at the same time. All right. So we've already seen that screen. And you've just got a virtual show and tell for us today. Before we get into the actual steps, which you're going to show step by step how to do this, let's just take a look at the beautiful samples you sent me, and we'll talk a little bit about them. So you want to tell us what we're seeing on the screen right now?
Well, on the left is a little dress that I made, and my little granddaughter wore that. It's a sweet, sweet little dress. I've got that here behind me if you wanted to look at it up close. But we have a precious picture of her. She's a darling little girl. And at church, we have the raised dais where they speak from and fellowship hall. And my husband clicked a picture of her. She's sitting on this bench with two little boys on each side, and the little boys are all snuggled right up to her. She's quite the attraction, quite the charmer. But that has the Madeira Applique at the hem as well as on the sleeve. And so that's a nice little feature on that dress. And on the right is a little Madeira Applique dress as well. And that one was on the cover of the 2003, I think it was, the ULT. And that little dress, honest to Pete, heirloom lasts forever, you know. And I made that for a wedding, a flower girl, in at least 20 years ago. And the mother asked for a short dress. She said, she runs. She will trip over a long dress. Please make a short dress. So I did. And she was an active little girl. They had chocolate-covered strawberries, and I think she ate most of them. And half of each chocolate went on her dress.
Oh,
and
no.
Then she went outside and rolled in the grass.
Oh,
so
my.
The dress,
in this dress right here?
This dress,
the one on the right?
Yes. It was a mess. And I scrubbed and I rubbed and I soaked, and it all came clean. Now, that was 20 years ago at least. That has been through at least 3 more children. And I've scrubbed and soaked on. It's hanging behind me. It's still being worn by other little girls. So they last forever. So
well,
that's been
you're getting some dress. Great comments on this. Oh my, everybody's loving it. Clovis says, oh no, with the chocolate and the dirt. Oh my.
Chocolate and grass stains. And it all came out.
Now, Kelly's already got a little kind of challenge for you. She'd like to see the back of your smocking. So if you have that dress there and you want to grab it, maybe we could show that a little close to the camera.
Let me move my tea. I had to I make up most of my embroidery, my smocking designs, because hold on here. I don't want to, let me take an earbud out here so I can read.
And we forgot to talk about our tea too. We'll have to do that.
Yes.
I'm drinking hot ginger tea today. I don't know let me know what you're drinking out there if you're out there in.
Let's see, how do I
land?
Get this to go so that you can see it?
Yeah.
Can you switch that to the back of it there?
Yeah, let me give me a second here.
I especially like to have it short over the shoulders and deep in the front and back. And you can't go very deep on the front of a bishop. So I like it to go deep. And let me see, I got to move it over here.
All right, I thought that would bring you up. There we go. There we go. All
this
right.
Is the back of it.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm thinking that Kelly might have meant the wrong side. Kelly, let us know if that's
what you mean?
If that's what you're thinking, like you'd like to see the inside. Haha. I bet.
Is that what she wants?
Why don't you give us a peek at the wrong side?
Sure. And there's no chocolate or grass stains in there either. So let's see here.
It's always fun to see the wrong side, right?
Oh, I know.
The inside outside.
Yes, here you go. Here we go.
And Melissa says, it's so beautiful, Miss Janice. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the inside. Oh, let's see. And I love the sleeves to keep them puffy. Nancy Coburn, she is a wonderful person. And in one of the very first Martha Pullen classes, I was teaching there, and she was a student, and she taught a class, and how can I get this to show here? I got to move it over here, I guess.
Yeah, just bring it forward just a little bit.
Okay. Anyway, she had some samples, and she stuffed her sleeves
and go up a
polyfill.
little. Oh, really?
And that way it stayed, it didn't get smashed in her suitcase. So I've been doing that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that was a really good
Yeah, we
tip.
could see
There
that
you
pretty good. Yep, stop
can
right
you?
there. Stop right there. That looks good.
Okay.
Wow, that's amazing. It looks almost as good on the inside as it does on the outside.
Well, you're an easy judge, I must say. So
And
anyway, that's how that does. And then see, I've got the polyfill in the sleeves to keep them
Christy says, I
puffy.
bet it's nice and soft and they get better with age.
It is. It's very. This is a domestic batiste called comb batiste, and I've
Okay.
always liked it. It only came in 4 colors. It was pale pink, and blue. This blue, actually, the blue has faded a good bit, and ivory and white. And then when they came out with it in a 60 wide, the pink was a stronger pink, and I've always liked it.
Hmm.
Hard to come by, but I've always liked it.
And while
And
you're standing, if you want to grab that other dress, you can do that too.
sure, I'll
Marcy
do
says
that.
she always wanted to learn. She even got some patterns from Martha Pullen years ago. So,
The videos are so helpful if you want to learn to swap. That's if you can't take a class. Hold on here. If you can't take a class, videos are really, really
well, you're getting
very useful.
Kelly says, goodness, your knots are invisible. I told you she was an expert.
Well, look closely. This
Yeah.
video is very forgiving. Here we go.
Caroline says, such stunning work. Hey, Caroline, glad
Oh,
to have you
thank you.
with us today.
Thank you. Now this, see, and another thing I want to point out, when you are
Oh,
doing the
we can
Madeira
see that so
Applique,
good.
with the Madeira Applique, it's really pretty easy to get nice sharp points. But if your points are not very sharp, I like to put a little rosebud on top of it. See this?
Okay.
See there? And then there's also, by putting the Madeira Applique on the sleeve, that was I like that little touch there. See it here?
Oh my, I didn't notice that before from the picture. Yeah, just stay still for
See.
a minute. Just stay still for
Okay.
a minute. Yeah. Okay, so it's straight
That's
on the edges and then it has the point at the
at the top.
at the center there.
Where did it go
Oh,
there? And I don't know if you can see that little rosebud there. That's a sweet Suzanne Socko, my dear friend.
okay.
She's kind of moved away from machine embroidery and gotten into quilting, but she digitized some of the most spectacular. You'll see some on the pillowcase. And
Yeah.
this little tiny rosebud, I don't know if you can
Oh,
see it.
it's kind of blending in. Is this an
Uh-huh.
embroidery design?
It had some machine embroidery,
Okay,
teeny tiny little
you got to
thing.
go a little bit opposite direction of where you're at. So a little closer to where your door is. Yeah.
Where's my peak here? Here.
It's
This
so
little
tiny and delicate.
it looks just like a web rose that you would do by hand. Shucks, I cannot get that thing. That's what I want to show.
Okay, you want to tilt it though more towards like your door that you have over there. Like go to the direction of your door. Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe there you can see.
it's a little hard to see.
Well, on one of the other ones, you'll see it.
Okay.
But that's a free download on my blog. And I use it again and again and again. It's very useful.
Olga says, "Oh, the details."
And see there, you can see it. It's the same little rose that's in the
okay, you want to go again in
smocky.
the other direction. Other direction.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, it's so tiny.
It is, and it's just a nice little touch, especially in a contrasting color.
Yeah. It's hard to find those itty bitty little designs to add those kind of details.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And they're quick and easy. So
And
those
Betty
are
loves the
nice.
addition of the rickrack. I do too. I love rickrack.
I do. And the baby rickrack, again, that's something that's hard to find. Anne Marie Phelps at Peanut Butter and Jelly Kid, she helped me, and I had to match just the right color. And so she found just the right color for me. And I've got a personal stash of baby rickrack that I use, and I love it. But and then I put it on with monofilament thread, and then you can't see it, and it stitches down nicely. So those are my 2 samples there.
Judy's asking Suzanne Socko. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Fabulous.
I had a collection from her. It was something like sewing poems or something that she did all in like handwriting.
Filtre and fancy work. We had 3 collections. One was just the basic things, and then combinations, and then frames and fancy work.
Okay. And Judy says she hasn't heard Suzanne's name in years. Zena says, so skillfully done. Marie says,
Oh,
absolutely exquisite. I agree. I agree.
thank you.
Oh my, that was really, really just so special. I love your idea though, too, of if things aren't perfect. I call that the art of camouflage, where you just
Yes,
like
I love it.
purposely put something there that,
Right there.
and it's
Plunk it
funny
on
too.
top.
We got some more Rick Rack fans here, but I think the vintage Rick Rack was softer because it was made from cotton, and I think it was a little bit more flexible than what we have currently. I know
My
I have
mother had, go ahead.
I have some vintage that it came all the way back from my grandmother's stash, and it's perfectly good. Absolutely perfectly good.
My mother had a lot of that. And then when the hurricane came along and it went right through the roof into her sewing room, and she gave it to me. It was just like this big bag, and it was all stained and nasty. And I soaked it all, and my sewing room was ridiculous. I had it draped from window to window to window, miles of this stuff. And I got it all clean, and I ironed it all up, and I saved it all. So
Oh, how wonderful. That's great. That's a good thing to hear that it didn't have to,
be
go
tossed.
away. Oh my. Oh, we had some people sharing their tea in here too. What are you drinking? What are
Me?
you drinking, Janice? Yeah.
Oh, Earl Grey.
Oh,
Earl
I
Grey.
love
I
Earl
love
Grey.
Earl Grey.
Do you put milk and sugar in it? No, just
Just
plain?
sugar. Just sugar.
Okay. I like Earl Grey with milk and sugar. Marie's drinking green tea. Kelly's drinking, vanilla chai, black tea. That sounds good. That sounds good. I got to say hi to my friend Chris. She's also one of my local friends, and I've been thinking about you, Chris. I haven't seen you for a while. Miss you. Let's see if I got some more tea drinkers here. Oh, it looks like Jeanette knows how to talk to Lydia. So that's pretty cool, Jeanette, that you're able to carry on a conversation with Lydia in her very own native language. Oh, let's see. Oh, Kim's drinking earth sweet and spicy matcha tea. Wow, that sounds good. I love to ask because I like to know what everybody's drinking so I can get some tea tips. I love tea. Betty drinks iced tea in the morning. Betty, are you from the South? Because that's what I usually think of when I think of the iced tea drinkers. And Maria's drinking hot ginger tea. Ooh, I got to add that to mine. That sounds really good. Jeanette has some favorites: blueberry peppermint and raspberry hibiscus. Very good. Very good. Wow. I love hearing what everybody's drinking out there. Cheers to all of you. All right, Janice, let's see what we've got next here on that slide. So I'm going to bring you up, and I'm going to bring the next slide up. Let's see. Let me see if I can get this one bigger. Let's see.
This is Wendy Shane's pattern, Penny. And it's a darling, darling pattern. And this is interesting because at the hemline, instead of low scallops, she goes the other way where it's Humpty Dumpty Humpty. And that was interesting. And I love the back.
And so is this a pattern that's still available?
Yes.
Okay.
Penny by Wendy Shane, Petite Posh, Poche, however she pronounces it.
Okay. And I should say, I'm going to go ahead and put my website up there. I'm going to do a blog post this weekend, and I will, I'll get all of the details from Janice as far as supplies and the basic steps that she's going to show. And then you'll be able to watch the video and coordinate the instructions with the samples that you've seen. So we'll put the details for that pattern name in there as well, so you can be sure to find all that this weekend. I don't want you to miss any of the juicy details here. Yeah, I love that. Would you call that a keyhole opening in the back, even though it's really big? It's a big keyhole, but you
And you
know.
button at the top, and that was all done with Liberty of London as the print. I love Liberty. I love
Oh,
it.
you know, it's my dream to buy a piece of Liberty London fabric and make a blouse out of it.
Oh,
I have not hit the trigger yet for purchasing it, but every time I see it advertised, I'm like, oh, I know I have seen it and felt it. I've just never actually made something out of it, and I know it's an amazing, amazing
it
fabric.
is.
It's they call it silk cotton, even though it's
It
cotton.
is.
It's so silky that it just you'd think it was made out of silk.
I
Wow.
went into Joann's Fabrics many, many years ago. And I mean, I have loved Liberty forever. And I can spot it across 10 acres, I bet. And I went in with my mother and I looked over there at the sale area. And here were bolts and bolts and bolts of Joann Fabric. I mean, of Liberty of London, half price.
Are
I
you
thought, what is
serious?
this? And but at that time, it was $15.98 a yard, which was pretty pricey
Yeah,
even then.
yeah.
And it was marked down to $8 a yard. I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. I bought $600 worth of Liberty,
Oh
every bit that they
my.
had. And I couldn't really afford that much. So I called Mildred Turner and Terry Johnson, and we split it
Oh.
up. And we had we used that Liberty forever. I still have a little bit of it left, but
Huh.
I loved it.
I
I
know
loved it.
Terry. I'll have to contact her and say, Terry, are you cleaning out your stash? Or maybe you still have
She
some.
maybe does. And we did doll schools all over the country. And we would cut kits, and we always had a Liberty Bishop dress for each kit, and we used the Liberty for that. So
Wow.
it's wonderful stuff, though. It does nothing feels like it. Nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you make me want. I'm gonna splurge. I'm gonna splurge, and then I'll have to do a I'll have to do a little a little post about it and share my experience because
Uh,
I know it's gorgeous stuff.
it
All right,
is.
let's see what the next one is. Next one, I love the fact that you sent these samples because it really shows that it's not just for garments, it's also for
Uh-huh.
whatever you like to make. You know, if you don't like to do clothes at all, or if you don't like to do children's clothes, this technique really works great for home decor and crafty things, doesn't it?
This is a dish towel, and I'm not sure you'd really want to wipe dishes with these yo-yos on it, but it was fun. And so the Madeira at the bottom shows it doesn't have to be scallops either. It can be any shape that you want it to be. And so this is just, I have this dish towel here, and it was fun to do. And I love doing the yo-yos. Yo-yos are done by machine, by the way, almost
Oh,
all the way by machine. And that is,
really?
and it really is a fun way. And yo-yos are so tedious otherwise,
I
but only the
know.
last step is done by machine. So it's fun. So this is the little dish
We'll have to
towels,
get you on to show that, someday in a little
Yes.
quick snippet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would be great.
So that was just a fun. I really enjoyed doing this one. So anyway, that was that one. And then
And
the coasters, brother did a whole New Year's party thing, and we
yep,
each. What did you do for that,
I
Joanne?
did
You
an
did.
apron. I did an apron,
Yes.
a blue
Uh
satin
huh.
apron. We all used the same color scheme and
Uh
everything,
huh.
kind of matched. So, yeah,
But see,
that's
these coasters were that was a Madeira applique. That was a frame, and so now this was the same technique where you had to have some basically with the Madeira, the magic Madeira, you need something symmetrical. So I had a semicircle, and then you cut the semicircle and you made the frame, and then I laid that on top of the embroidery of the firework. So
okay.
that was fun too.
Well, Gail says your samples remind her of hand appliqued
Oh
handkerchiefs she
yes.
remembers from her childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they still do that kind of thing over in the Asian countries. Although some of the stuff that you find these days, even though it looks like it was done by hand, I swear they've invented machines that
Mm-hmm.
really mimic it so very close. And Mary's interested yo-yos by machine. Never saw this. Maybe we can get together and do a little video recording and post it on my channel of showing you how to do that. I've already had some ideas on how to digitize it for that, but I was never able to work it out 100%. So I'd love to see
Again, oh,
how you
that
do
was
it.
Suzanne Sacco. She did that.
Okay.
Just fabulous.
Well, I think it's really great and I'm sure, just about everybody out there is gonna agree that when you can mimic handwork by machine, that's
Mhm.
when you really feel the empowerment of
Yes.
owning a machine that lets you do something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Jan says the flowers look so delicate. They are. They're just
Thank you.
beautiful. And the other thing that's really neat, Connie says she loves to see yo-yos by machine, is that it's an I hate to use the word old fashioned, but you know what I like to use instead of old fashioned? Time honored. It's a
Uh-huh.
time honored technique. It's been something that's been done for a long time, and yet it's still fresh and new because it can be used in so many different ways. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's see the next one because we're going to be getting into how to in shortly here. I love this one, Janice, because again, maybe you don't want to do garments, maybe you don't want to do anything really frilly or fussy. So let me know in the chat if you're not a frilly fussy type. That's okay. Or there's a time and a place for it. Sometimes you want those little extra, details, and other times you really want something just more classic looking. And when I look at this is just a really classic, elegant look. This is just so elegant.
This was fun. This was June Mellinger asked me to do a whole set. And so there was a placemat, a napkin, and a tablecloth. And that fish on the side, that's a really unusual embroidery
Yeah.
technique, not solid. And so the napkin and the
I think that's built into the Dream Machine, if I remember
it
correctly.
is.
Yeah.
It
And June
is.
Mellinger, will just give a shout out to June Mellinger, was the
Oh,
former director of the entire education department for Brother, and both of us had a long relationship with her, still do, but we did a lot under June's tutelage, right? And that was great. Oh, we lost Janice for just a second there. We'll have to get her back. I know she's still there, so something went dark. So Janice, if you can hear me, try to get back. In the meantime, I'm going to bring up a few more comments. Let's see what we've got here. Mary, yeah, Mary, that's a great idea. A sweatshirt. That would certainly work. I don't see why not. I can't wait to learn this technique. And I see Janice is back. So let me get you back up here, Janice. You just went dark
there
for
we
a
go.
second.
Yes, left you.
So Judy has an interesting comment. She said her daughters-in-law don't appreciate heirloom clothing. Basically, she gave away a lifetime collection. Well, you know what, Judy? I'm sure it did go to somebody that did appreciate it, though. So, that there's always somebody that we can gift to that is going to appreciate what others may not. So good for you for, at least finding, I'm sure it found a good home, even if you didn't know exactly where it was going to. I'm sure it found a good home. All right. I think we got another sample here or two. I think that's the last one. So this one's interesting because number one, that adorable little baby boy there is someone near and dear to you. So you could tell us about him and the outfit, and then we'll talk about the blouse in a minute here. So
that's my baby grandson, Alistair. Oh, he is so precious. But he had already outgrown that by the time my daughter got around to taking a picture of it. And that, again, is another Wendy Shane project. And it really is beautiful. That's gray linen on a white linen day gown.
Oh.
And those are little lambs along the bottom.
Oh, I can see that. It's a little hard, I don't know if everybody can
Uh-huh.
see that, but I can see that now that you mention it.
And
Wow.
they're in the pattern, they were shadow work. But I did French knots on those. Now, this guy, 10 pounds, all my grandchildren were 10 pounds. They're big babies. But he was overdue, 3 weeks overdue. And we thought she was in labor a couple of times. And we waited and we waited and we waited. And we talk about handwork when there's nothing else to do. Well, there's nothing else to do when they're in labor and you're waiting. So I was going to do a lamb at the bottom on each side.
Uh-huh.
But time went on. So then I did one on either side. Ultimately, I went all the way around the bottom
It
with
turned
French
into a
nuts.
flock.
It was a flock of sheep, absolutely. So I got plenty of French knots on that little gown for him. And it
Oh,
really turned out to be it was one of Becca's favorite things for that little boy. He is
well,
now, he's 13 now.
oh, and back to the whole hand sewing thing, because I used to love making French knots. Hand sewing is very therapeutic. There's just something about doing those things, especially
Hmm.
when they're like kind of intricate, that they take your mind away from anything else, and it really is like it really is like therapy.
I kept thinking at the end of this lamb, he surely will be born, but he wasn't. So
Well, he
anyway,
sure is a handsome little
oh,
fellow.
he
I'd
is.
love to hear in the chat if anybody here has made anything. It doesn't even have to be heirloom, but anything that you made for a special baby, and you were able to get a photo of it. I unfortunately for me, most of the stuff I made when children in my family were growing up. I don't have children of my own, but I had a lot of nieces and nephews when they were growing up. It was the era of, you had to buy film and you had to do this, and we
Oh, I
just didn't take
know.
as many pictures. But I can remember making a little baby blanket for my, she would be my youngest. So she'd be the last niece that was born in my family. And believe it or not, she is in her, let's see, I think she's in her 40s now, and she still has it. She kept it
Oh,
all these years.
special.
I
Oh,
made a lot of things for her over the years. She probably got a little extra special treatment because she was the
oh,
youngest niece in the family. But I used to spend a lot of time with her when she was growing up, and went over to her house one day. She was already married, had her own children, had her own family, and she calls me Aunt Joe. She says, Aunt Joe, come here. I want to show you something. She opened up a trunk, and she literally had everything I ever made for her,
oh,
including that
Joanne.
blanket when she was an infant, and a rag doll, and some clothes, and
Oh,
things that I didn't even remember I made. So yeah, when you have somebody that really appreciates it, they get extra special treatment for sure.
oh, it made it all worthwhile, didn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely. Let's see what Kelly has to say. She's so extra for somebody that cherished it that much too. Yeah. Oh, and Clovis says it's so precious. It is. That picture, especially with his uh, handsome, smiling face.
uh-huh.
That's a real winner and a real keeper. And Gail says, yes, so nice to have your work appreciated. Well, I know, Janice, you've done lots of things, and lots of your work has been greatly appreciated by not only just your own family
Hmm.
members and friends, but you published a lot in magazines. So we talked about the last time.
Hmm.
In fact, if you haven't seen the video from before, I will link it in the show notes, and you definitely want to watch our video that we did earlier when I interviewed Janice and got all the backstory to all this. But let's move on to the blouse, and then I'm going to have you show us the actual techniques.
Okay. The blouse, uh, it was a class I taught at Martha Pullens, and I love this blouse, but because it was a class, I had to go by the pattern. And clearly, the pattern was designed for a very tall woman.
Mm.
I'm short. That pattern would go to my knees. The blouse did. So very long. But the technique on this, the Madeira down the front, you'll see is really it's not the traditional kind of Madeira technique, but it's very. I like the white on white, and it gives I think a very elegant look to the thing. And also, I think there's also some on the sleeve.
I'm going to see if I can bring it up a little bit bigger there. There it
No,
is.
there's no Madeira on the sleeve. It's just a regular
Okay.
cuff. You only have so much time in those classes. We only had 6 hours to promote all the techniques, so there's no Madeira on the sleeves. But it shows that, again, it can be for ladies, it can be for children, it can be for a home deck, it can be for all kinds of things. Madeira is just such a versatile technique, and
Well,
you can use it for so many things.
what I love about this one in particular, and first of all, it's all one color, so you
Uh-huh.
know you don't have to do the contrast thing, obviously, but that it's actually kind of in reverse instead of it being, I mean, it's on an edge, but it's actually showcasing that whole center
Mm-hmm.
area there. So um, let's see, we got a question here from Marie. She's asking, can you show a close up of the front of the blouse? Do you actually have the blouse there?
Yes, I do. I
Why
surely
don't
do.
you
It's
do
right
that?
here.
Because the picture is not doing it justice. Yeah, Judy wants to
Okay,
know the same thing.
here we go. And most of these things have pin stitch on them. You don't have to do pin stitch. You can do, you can finish the edges with a tiny zigzag or a feather stitch or whatever you like. But I love pin stitch. It's probably pin stitch and Madeira are my two of my favorite heirloom techniques.
Oops,
Let's
I'm
see.
trying to get you up here bigger. So there we go.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Right about there. Just go up a little bit.
There.
Wow. That really, really shows the pin stitching for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that embroidery, was that machine or was that hand?
Oh no, that no, that was machine.
Okay. Wow.
And my brother machines, they do such a lot. I guess others do, but I do brothers, and the pin stitch is just perfect, just perfect.
Oh my. Yeah, Jeanette says it's beautiful. I should mention we are both brother ambassadors, so our samples are pretty much always done on a brother machine. But
Mm-hmm.
the pin stitch, I'm sure you're going to talk about it a little bit. That's something that's found on many, 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 many
Yes,
machines. So, and
and
Betty, your friend Betty says she remembers this blouse.
oh, do you? Oh, Betty Ludwig. Oh, Betty, I love Betty. Yes, I think Betty made this blouse. She is a dear.
Oh my, that is really, really something to see that up close. Wow.
And again, that embroidery design was done by Suzanne Sacco, my sweet
Okay.
friend.
Now, are
And
some
see,
of those still available, Janice, that if I could link to it, people can still purchase those or
yes, they are. And see down the. Boy, this is awkward. Go the opposite direction.
that's
Okay.
okay.
And seeing
You're
it trails down the front. I guess
good.
it just
Yeah.
goes that far. Uh-huh.
Almost like a
Yes.
tunic, it could
It could be.
could
Or
almost
if you're
be.
very short, it could be a dress. If
Yeah.
you're really long.
Oh my. I could just, I could almost see that as a
Mm.
or even a nightgown, a really fancy special nightgown.
And see the pin stitch. And then there's lace tape on the side. That's another one of my favorite things. That
Yeah.
was a product I introduced a long time ago. And then Wendy Shane carried it forever. And now Farmhouse carries it.
Okay. Oh, well, you know what?
So
We'll have to connect so that I can get a few more resources from you,
sure, sure.
so that we can make
Hmm.
sure yeah, yeah, we'll definitely, Judy, I'll have a little bit of time to get this together. I probably won't send it out until Saturday night or Sunday morning. And if you're
There.
on my email list, you'll get a link to the blog, and I will make sure I get as many details as I possibly can. Beautiful. Well, I think we need to get right into showing those techniques. What do you say?
All righty.
All right. I think you got, I know you have a whole list of supplies, and I will be
Uh-huh.
posting that. Again, we really want you to be able to follow the video for, coordinating, but I'll have some written instructions for you too that we'll post in the blog. So let's go
Okay.
sew.com is where you'll find the blog this weekend. All right.
Okay. Well, in order to get started, you need supplies, of course. Let me move to the center here, I guess. And the supply list sounds lengthy. And of course, some of it you probably don't have to have, but these are the things that would be useful for you. First of all, of course, you've got to have a base fabric. And I chose this sweet print here. This is like the one that was in the one that little Beatrice was so cute in, but this is in blue. And then a contrast fabric. And I
Okay.
use these so that you could see better with a dark thing. And so those are the first two, a base fabric and that. And then you'll need a template. Now, I like to use cardstock, but if you're going to be tracing something, you can't trace with cardstock. So I trace it off on paper, and then I transfer that to cardstock so that it's firmer when you're tracing it off. And I like to use I'm so old. I'm telling you, and I don't mind being old. I'm glad I'm old. Anyway,
You're experienced.
yes, that's it. That's it. I'm vintage and experienced, and I've had a very good life, and I wouldn't trade
You're
it for anything.
time honored.
Yes, yes. And I've used these Dixon washout pens, and I recommend them. And I went online to see where you could get them. Well, now they're considered vintage, and you can get them on
Oh,
eBay for a big price. But anyway, if you happen to have them, I like them. They're really kind of a chalk pen kind of thing, and you can use whatever that you want to trace with. A pencil also works very well. Okay, so you want to trace it onto you're going to need that for something to trace with. I don't really like to use a blue washout marking pen because when you spray with it later on, it bleeds all over and it might leave a bit of a mess. Okay,
okay.
and then you're going to need wash away basting thread. I keep mine in a little plastic bag. Many years ago, I told you I love a sale. So I went into Joann's Fabrics and they had this big bin of wash away thread, 10 cents a spool. And
I
nobody
think
knew what to do with it. Everybody
I
said,
think I have a few of those myself,
yeah.
those little ones.
And people were walking by. That's that stupid thing. Why would you want wash away thread? They were all laughing at it. And I'm scooping it all and putting it all in my bin, I think I got 28 spools of it for $2.80. I thought, well, if they made it, it must be good for something. I'll think of something, sure enough.
Yeah. I'd love to
So
know if anybody here has used wash away thread. I just used it in a project recently. So
I use it frequently. And even on my blog, and even on Brother's blog, there are a couple things that I've used it for.
yeah.
And it's great stuff. It really is. And this is just one more use for it. So you're going to need that. You're going to need the wash away thread. And then you're going to need, if you do pin stitch, you're going to need a fine thread for that. I like the Madeira Katona for the
Okay.
pin
Bring
stitch.
it closer to your face. Yeah. Okay.
Or if you want the Mettler 60 weight thread, or even the 50 weight, cotton thread, you want to use a cotton thread. And also, when I talked about the base fabric, you really want to use a natural fiber for that. You're going to
Okay.
have a hard time turning the Madeira fabric under if it's a poly blend. So you want to use a natural fabric for that. You're going to need needles. And while you're tempted to use a very fine needle for the wash away thread, you're better off using a bigger, a 75 or an 80, because you want to punch a hole that's big enough in your fabric that it will wash away later and that it won't wear out your wash away thread. So I like to use a 75 or an 80.
Okay.
And then for your pin stitch, this is a 120. You can use a smaller needle, even a 90 needle, depending whatever you like to use for a pin stitch or a zigzag.
Okay. But
And
the wing
then
needle actually pushes the fibers out. So it creates a hole separated in the fabric, correct?
correct, and it makes a bigger hole, a more impressive hole, if you,
Got it.
as it were. And then you'll need a point turner, and you can
Okay.
use whatever kind of point turner you like.
Yeah.
It's all over this. Oh, I think I stuck that to something one time. Not very attractive. Anyway, a point turner, and then you'll need some spray starch or water. I prefer the spray starch because it encourages the stuff to stay where it needs to be.
Okay.
Either one.
Okay.
And then let's see. You need a towel. Connie Palmer, she's so wonderful. She's rabid about her ironing board cover. You don't put anything on the ironing board cover. And she covers it with a towel.
Okay.
She walked into her sewing room and someone had put a coffee cup on her ironing board.
Oh my.
She said, it is not a coffee table. Do not do that. So you need to put a towel over your ironing board.
Okay, that's a good idea. Kelly's got a tip here. Let me bring Kelly's tip up here. She has wash away thread and she keeps a yellow sticker on the bag. And so she knows what she's got in there. That is a great point, because I just did a project where I wound it on just the bobbin, and it looks a lot like my embroidery bobbin thread. And I had to make sure I put that away in a special place. Yeah. And then Christy's got a funny one. Yeah. Oh my. A gag. Oh my. That is. Yeah. Oh, that's a riot.
Oh, that is funny. That is funny.
Oh my.
Oh boy.
Ay, ay, ay. But it's really neat stuff.
It is. It really is. I make homemade bread, and then I make a dish towel that says homemade bread. and then I sew it up into a bag with a wash away thread. And
Yeah.
then I give them the bag, and then they can dip the bag, and then they've got a dish towel. So that's one use
Yeah,
for it.
we I think we talked about that in our previous show. So
Oh,
if
did
anybody,
we? Oh, I don't
yeah,
remember.
if anybody wants to look that one up, I'll link
Mm-hmm.
it. Hmm.
And then you're going to need a see-through press cloth. You're not going to need it, but it's nice to have. And and this is what I use. This is a piece of organdy, and it has a beautiful collar traced on it. It's a UFO. You don't have any projects that you didn't finish, do you? This is
Oh my
probably
God.
30 years old, but I never finished it, but it's very useful. This is useful, or a piece of batiste. It's nice when you're pressing out things later to be able to
Okay.
see what you're pressing. So that's useful, but not necessary, useful. And then you're going to need some fine pins. Now, again, because I'm old and proud of it, I like iris pins. They're not, that was before glass head pins were so readily available. And they still are, they don't have a big head on them. Now that I have a little trouble with my old fingers, the glass head pins are nice, but the iris pins are nice also. So you're going to
Okay.
need some pins.
Mainly
Okay.
they need to be fine and sharp, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't
Okay.
want any big bulky ones. And then um, stabilizer like Stitch and Ditch. Now, everyone says you need to have
Go
always
closer to your
stabilized.
face. Closer to your face.
Oh, closer. You're right. This way.
Yeah.
That you need this stabilizer underneath your pin stitch.
Okay.
I rarely use this. If you starch your fabric enough, you rarely need, and if you use this, you're forever picking it out. You know, it takes a
Right.
long time to do that. But I would always try it first. I would try it out to see, can you do your pin stitch without needing a stabilizer? So have this handy at any rate. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a list of things that are nice to have on hand. Okay. Some you need, like the wash away thread, you're going to need the template. And so those are the things you can decide what you need and what would be nice. Okay. So now how do you do it? Why do you need all these things? Okay. We're going to start with number one. First, you're going to take your template that we talked about. Okay, here. My square on there. Okay, and you're going to trace onto, now all this black, you're not going to use black, you know better than that, but you wouldn't be able to see what if I just used the regular stuff. You're going to trace onto the template for the Madeira Applique the width of your fabric. Now, if you have a big wide hem, you're not going to want a template that's that wide. You keep moving the template, of course. And one thing you want to be careful of, you don't want to put the edge of your template on a hem. You want to have, you don't want to peak at the seam, because then when you come up to the peak over here, when you come up to the peak, there's the peak here. You don't want to come up to the peak and have to do a pin stitch there. You want to come up to we want to come up to the seam in the middle of a curve. You see how that would be difficult?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So make sure you're at a seam
Okay. You
in the
froze for a
middle.
second. You
Golly,
froze for just a
I am a
second.
slow learner. There you go. That's where you want your seam to fall. Okay. When you come up to a seam, you want to make sure that you're at a curve rather than at a peak. And when you do your template, you want to make sure that you put these vertical lines here,
Okay.
because that's where you will pivot.
Like hash marks.
Yes, but probably a little taller.
Okay.
So put those so that you will pivot on those places. Okay, and then move your template over so that you go the full length, only half of it. If you're going to do a hem, you fold it in half and you do your template half of the width.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And after you do half of the width, you're going to stitch. Oh, you're going to put on your wash away thread and reduce your needle tension a little bit, because that wash away thread is pretty fragile and it might break on you. And if it does, then just start all, rethread and start again. I like to work with an open toe foot so that I can see where that line is. Load your needle with the water soluble thread. Set your stitch lengths to 1.5 and engage needle down. And it's really helpful to use your
Bring that up just a teeny bit, Janice. Just a little bit.
straighten
Very
it
good.
out a little.
Okay. A little
It's
bit.
still not
Yep.
straight, is it?
It's okay. It doesn't have to be
Okay.
straight as long as we can read it. That's good.
And if you have a knee lift, that's very helpful too, because you really want to pivot quite a lot. You want to stitch right on that marked line, pivoting as much as possible. Okay,
Got
it says, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Because let me ask you a quick question, because you're
sure.
gonna need to pivot a little bit when you're sewing that curve too, anyway, right?
Correct.
Okay. Sounds
So
good.
try to stay right on that line. Okay, and then you're going to press carefully, not on the side with
Closer to your face. Go closer to your face.
Yeah, here
There you go. Perfect.
Press carefully, not on the water soluble side, and then turn it right side out and press out the curves with your point turner.
Okay. And I would imagine you want to press with a dry iron just to be safe, right?
Yes, absolutely, with a dry iron.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Better safe than sorry.
Uh-huh.
And Crafting with Marilyn says, you and your Janice, you and your sense of humor reminds her of her Aunt Blair, who taught her how to sew. How nice is that?
Well, then what you want to do is you want to spray it with water or starch. I prefer starch. Anything that will encourage this to stay where you want it to stay is a good idea, but you can use water if you want. Now, I have already done that. See here. Here, and I've sprayed it with starch and water, and then you want to press it. Now, you know the difference between pressing and ironing. You know, when you iron, you can do this.
You move back and forth. When you press, you go up and down, correct?
Right. And if you start ironing this, you're going to move it after it's wet. You're going to move it all around and you're going to be really sorry.
Okay.
Because you want it to stay right in place. And as they say, press until dry, or you will cry. Because then you're going to have to start all over. And you don't want to start all over.
All right. You won't forget that.
And once it's dry, now I hope this works. Every now and again, it gives you trouble. I hope today's not the day. Okay, so let me see here.
And I'm going to pull up a question from Anne. She's asking, is water-soluble thread the same as disappearing thread? And you're right, Anne. No question is a wrong question.
I think so. I've never
I would say yes.
Thread.
It's probably just, a difference in terms. But if it's going to disappear, the only way I know thread disappears is by being dissolved by water. So I would say yes.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if this magic works. Let me do it this way here. Now I've soaked it with starch and now I'm pulling it apart. And every now and again you get to a place like this. And if it gives me too much trouble, I take my scissors and cut that, but I don't. Okay. And now here we go. Okay.
Wow.
Now
that is like magic.
And if you've ever done it by hand, I'm telling you, it is so tedious to turn those little points. Now, people like Wendy Shane find that therapeutic. I find it hair pulling. I just don't like. I've done it. What do they call it? Needle turn or whatever.
Yeah, needle turn applique. Yeah. Well, and again, if you have issues with your hand dexterity, that's where you want to know all these tricks and techniques so that you don't have to suffer. Why suffer if you don't have to?
And how long would that take? I'm a busy woman. I got things to do, places to go, people to see,
Exactly.
I don't want to spend my time doing that. So now that I have that perfectly turned little piece of fabric, then I'm all set.
It's a beautiful thing.
It really is. It really is. I think it's a wonderful thing. So then after that, after I've got that, then I will place that at the base of my base fabric and I will stitch it along the bottom. Okay.
Now, and you're sewing right side to wrong side?
I'm stitching wrong. Yeah, right side to wrong side. Exactly.
Okay. The right side of your Madeira band is against the wrong side of your project fabric.
And I even printed out those words to put on here. And
Yeah,
did I
I see
remember to
it.
do that? No, I
You
did
did.
not.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay, but that's what we do. This
Okay.
is the wrong side of the Madeira,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the wrong side of my base fabric, and this is the right side of my Madeira over here.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Got it.
and then I flip it over to the right side, and I press it
Go a little closer to your face.
up
Like
to my face.
cover
Okay,
your
yeah, so
face, even though we love to see your lovely
okay,
face. Cover it
okay.
and then we'll see that.
Now you'll have to read the words then.
Okay.
And a glue
So,
stick is useful. Oh, a glue stick is useful to help hold it in place.
okay. So we're
And
flipping it to the right side. We're pressing it. We're using a glue
mhm.
stick to hold that piece in place and an occasional pin. And is the glue stick mostly going along the very outer edge there? Just
No, and I didn't even use a glue stick. If it gives you trouble, I do. I would just use it
okay.
occasionally, like maybe at the point,
Okay.
very occasionally,
Just if it's a little
because
bit wiggly.
and especially because sometimes it shows through, especially if you have
Okay.
a sheer fabric. But a pin is pretty reliable too.
Okay. Because then the next step is you're going to actually baste it. So
Uh
machine
huh.
based
See it?
by
Yeah. See the
machine.
black? The yeah. I do it by here.
Okay.
A machine base that along there. But
Okay.
make sure you baste it far enough away from the edge that your pin stitch doesn't bite into it.
Got it. Got it.
And then ultimately, you're going to pin stitch it.
Okay.
And
Great.
then remove your basting stitch,
Okay.
and then you're done.
Wow. Wow. That is so easy. One of the other things I love about it, yes, it was fun.
Isn't that fun?
Yes. Yay. Yay.
I think it's wonderful.
Oh, I love it. And I wouldn't have thought of doing it even with just an ordinary zigzag stitch. So there we go again. This
Hmm.
technique will work for virtually any machine out there. If you have a straight stitch and a
Absolutely.
zigzag, you can do this. Love it.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love it. Love it.
I love it when anyone can do it, you know?
Yeah. Covers all the bases. Okay, we got a
Hmm.
great question here because we haven't really explained this yet. What is a pin stitch? Diane wants to know.
A pin stitch is a stitch that goes um, straight stitch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, as many as 3 times, sometimes 4, sometimes only 2, and then it has a reach. It reaches to the right or to the left 1 time and bites in to the fabric that is butting up next to. And then it goes right back to the same hole that it was in before, and then it proceeds forward, forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, and bites in again, and then comes back. It's
Okay.
not the same as an applique stitch because that just goes forward and reaches in, goes back to the hole and goes forward. It has to repeat enough times to make a hole.
And
And
that's
it,
done with the wing needle. You're using the wing needle at that point.
not always. It could be a 90 needle
Okay, just a
or a
needle that's going
100,
to poke a nice enough hole.
a
Okay,
bigger hole. So
okay,
a 90 needle sometimes works. I've even done it on doll clothes with an 80 needle, with a fine, very fine fabric though.
okay,
And
okay.
it has to be with fine thread or you're just going to fill up the hole
Oh,
and then there's
that
no
makes
point in
perfect
it.
sense. And it probably would
Hmm.
be a good idea to test a little sample of
Yes.
that to make sure that you're getting what the look that you want. And you know what I'll do? I'll snag a picture of a pin stitch on the
Hmm.
machine and I'll include it in the post as well so that everybody can see what it looks like. And then all you have to do is look at your own machine and
Uh-huh.
compare and see, does this look like
Hmm.
something I have? But yeah, you're right. The point, the whole point is that it goes into that pointed spot more than once, so it's able to push those fibers out. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Very useful stitch.
Kelly has a great Madeira is a great bang for your buck technique. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Oh my, you just it's just such a beautiful look. Dawn has a great idea. She said it would make an awesome mantle scarf.
Oh, yes.
Wouldn't that be fabulous?
Yes, it would.
Oh my, absolutely fabulous. I'm thinking too, Janice, you tell me if I'm crazy with this thought. Let's say you didn't care about the wing needle effect or the hole punch effect. You could kind of use the same idea just to make a really beautiful, perfect facing for something, so that when it's finished, you'd have that same nice look, and you could just sew that part with, like you said, with a zigzag and a regular needle, and just tack it down in place. Is that
Mm-hmm.
crazy thought?
Well, couldn't you do that also with an applique stitch and not have to have all the repeats?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would say so. Olga wants to try it now. Good for you, Olga. Well, you got all
Oh,
you're good to go. I think, even without the blog post, your steps were wonderful, and it just shows exactly what to do. And Anne says she has wing needles she has never used. Yeah.
oh, get
Make
them
sure.
out.
Let's just give a little caution though, with a wing needle. First of all, they are thicker at the top, at the actual shank that goes into your machine. So you may find yourself loosening the needle screw on your machine a little bit more than you usually do. Make sure you get that needle pushed up until it will not push anymore, because it is thicker. It's a little bit thicker at the top. And then of course tighten it down. And then always do a hand test, because I don't know what setting you have your machine on, but you want to make sure that wing part is not coming too close to the edge of your throat plate. So yeah, Anne says test, test, test.
Oh, and
Um,
also make sure if you have a needle threader, don't use your needle threader with a wing needle.
oh, excellent point. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
very, 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 very important. And Michelle thinks that is neat. Gail has a good question here, though. What keeps cotton from closing up the holes made with a wing nail? Wouldn't the cotton shrink the holes? You want to kind of explain that a little bit?
Not if you use fine enough thread. You know, thread comes in many, many weights, and cotton thread comes from 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, although, and bigger still.
And
But
the
if you,
higher the number, the thinner the thread. The
yes,
lower the
very
number, the
important.
thicker the thread.
And then you get into plies. 80 weight thread is 2-ply. All the way down, when you start getting down to 50 weight, there's 3-ply. And 30 weight is 3-ply. So if you have 50 weight 3-ply, that's bigger than 50 weight 2-ply. So you want to look at that as well. But if you stick with the 80 weight Madeira Katona thread, then you're not going to fill up the holes.
Right, right. That really is a key point.
Mm-hmm.
The thinner the thread, and the combination of the stitch, um,
Mm-hmm.
the pin stitch really pronounces those holes. So
I learned an important thing. Kathy Harrison, who does, she does the most wonderful things, custom keepsakes. Anyway, I had always thought the higher the number, the smaller the thread. So I thought 60 weight thread was finer than 50 weight thread. She said, "Oh, no, 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 no."
the
And if you
opposite.
look at it under the scope thing, 50 weight thread is really finer than 50 weight DMC is finer than 60 weight Metler. So I was surprised by that, and she showed me, and sure enough, it is. So keep that in mind. And
Okay.
so I've started using 50 weight, preferable to 60 weight in the embroidery designs for the ones that I use cotton for.
Good to know, because yeah, there are so many variables in
Uh
brand
huh. Uh huh.
that you definitely want to. It's always best to test. That's what I like to
Mm-hmm.
say. It's
Mm-hmm.
always best to test. Wow, that was great. I think you covered it, like, just from beginning to end perfectly.
Well,
I
I
don't I
hope
don't
so.
I'm raring to go. It makes me I'm already thinking, like, okay, what can I do this on? What can I do this on? I mean, the whole idea of sewing a facing with the right side of the fabric to the wrong side of the fabric and then flipping it forward is something that I've actually done.
Oh,
One of my
I see what you're
wraps
talking about. Uh huh.
is done like this, from my wrapped and embroidery book. And I did it purposely because in all of the wraps and scarves, I tried to find a way to hide the wrong side of the embroidery. So you can kind of see what I did. The seam is here,
Uh huh.
and so all of the, whatever stabilizer, bobbin thread, everything is hidden on that wrong side. So I've kind of been doing
Very clever.
kind of that
Very
idea
clever.
of, sewing the facings that way for kind of a long time. It's just kind of a neat way to finish things and make it so that if it flops open, it looks good on both
That
sides.
is so
you know.
clever.
But it's
Wow.
really very similar to what the technique that you taught. It's great. Oh, Gail says great information. Judy says beautiful. So I think we had a lot of your friends here today, Janice, and you sure showed us some beautiful things. So
Well, thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed this.
it's
Thank
been
you.
wonderful. Christy said you enjoyed having y'all in my sewing room today. Christy, I think you said you're from Alabama, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but June says, very educational. She had no idea what Madeira Applique was. She thought it was a brand, not a special technique. Yeah. Isn't that the great thing about all things sewing is that we learn something new just about every single day. And it keeps it all so fresh and so interesting. We all learn from each other. I know, I learned from you. Hopefully I'm able to teach our friends here something every now and then, but everybody that's here and shares their own experiences, we all learn from each other, and we value that friendship so much. So thank you, Janice. I think we're probably ready to
Thank you,
say
Joanne.
goodbye for the day. And until we meet again, I wish you, Janice, and everyone here a world full of pretty stitches. So we'll see you all soon. I'm going to add some comments at the end of some of what everybody was drinking tea-wise, so you can see that at the end. And we'll go ahead and say bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.